Hey, Think Community, welcome to this episode of Think Business Live. Looking forward to having co-founder David Lawrence of MECA on the show today. It's mecastrong.com. And if you go to the website, it says superior training for superior results. I just had my assessment and I start in a couple days, meeting with the nutritionist later today and starting the program on Monday and looking forward to it. So I thought, kick it off for really not only knowledge, but also my own accountability. Talk about the program and what it's all about. And so, David, it's great to connect with you. You know, one of the things we got connected through my buddy Kevin Schneider, who was telling me about your organization and how you really pride yourself on the art and the science of training people one-on-one. So to prevent injury. I'm 52 and want to get into the next optimal level of my health. Without health, I think you have nothing. So I'm looking forward to that. But I want to kind of kick off the talk and talk a little bit about where people get stuck in their health routines and taking it to the next level. You know, for me, I would say the biggest piece for me where I get stuck is from 6 to 9 p.m. Because I don't understand why I get so hungry from the hours of 6 to 9 p.m. and I only want junk food during those times. But so the mindset that as I'm walking into this program is how can I kind of stay more disciplined? And so my first question is, where do people get stuck typically, and how do you help them get unstuck when it comes to the discipline of sticking to the program?
Yeah, John, thanks so much for having me on the podcast. I really appreciate it. And really excited for you on your journey. That's awesome. Yeah. It's cool when people make an investment into themselves, especially in their health. And a lot of times that's the last place that people invest is in their health. Right. Yeah. So I think, like for business owners and entrepreneurs, if you can invest in your health earlier, you can get more years out of your career. And if you're trying to do something like really special, like in your career, a lot of guys, and it's fine, it's super fine. They're go hard and, make as much money as they can and sell to PE or sell the business and retire or get on to the next thing. But if you find something truly special that you love doing, you probably want to do it for as long as you can, and you want to do it at as high a level as you can. And so, I'm congrats on that. So, yeah.
So thank you. So let's talk about that, because I think people get stuck on what you just said, not only in what you do, but also many things, whether it's investing in a business coach, whether it's investing in anything to be proactive, preventative, however you look at it. I think sometimes people look at things as an expense versus an investment. And so to your point, somebody could come into your services, to my services, and say, wow, that's a lot of money. That's a big expense versus, hey, this is an investment in myself and the results will be. So let's talk for a second, getting people unstuck when it comes to shifting from the expense side of things to the investment. Just kind of talk about that as far as the results, because I've talked to people who've done your program for 90 days or longer, but specifically 90 days. And it's really a transformative result. And so can you talk about that so people can kind of see with some close proximity what the results will be to what the ROI on the investment will be for themselves if they're disciplined?
Sure. Our tagline is 3 years of results in 3 months. So the only thing you don't really get more of unless you invest in your health is time.
Yeah.
So what we really try to help people buy is their time back. And so you have time, energy, attention span, and resources. And most of us are obsessed with collecting resources. And later we can buy those other things, but I think it's almost a bit backwards. So I've always been a big fan of investing in myself. My mentor was the most successful strength coach in the world, and that's who I learned from. And I remember paying him when I made $27,000 in 2012 when I started my business, and I was working a lot of hours and getting the business off the ground. But I remember I invested $1,000 for an hour consult with him, and in that hour consult, he made me $30,000 3 months later. And that consult gave me the knowledge to make hundreds of thousands of dollars over a period of time. So, like what I was doing is I was buying time and I was buying his experience. And but I've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars into coaching. I have two business coaches right now. A lot of people know strategic coach and Dan Sullivan. I'm a part of that group. It's been his books have made a big difference in the way I think and how I manage my time. And then I also belong to Vistage, Michigan, here in Joe Sadler's my chair. And I've just gotten so much benefit out of the coaching. And when I started investing in business coaching about 3 years ago, because I didn't really know what I was doing. I mean, I'd been in business for almost a decade, but I didn't really know what I was doing. We've 4x'd our company in the last 3 years, and it's so. Right. Yeah, and I've invested in a lot of things that made me no money at all or were a waste of time. But it just takes time. You find the right things, and then it's you get 3x, 5x, 100x return on that investment. So yeah.
So I did strategic coach for a year. I loved it, and I have read almost all of Dan Sullivan's books.
Nice.
I think he has some new ones. I think his books are incredible. One of my favorites, Think Community, is Who Not How, which I think is it's just an absolute brilliant book. But I literally went through kind of like a reading frenzy where I downloaded them all on Audible and just listened to them over the course of 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And Vistage, I think, is a great organization. I speak at Vistage a lot. And I think it's a great organization of like minds. And what I love about that organization is everybody's so open to sharing ideas. And they've been great to me. I love speaking at Vistage. Let's talk about mentorship for a minute. You bring up your strength coach. What was one thing that he shared with you in that time together that really made the biggest impact?
In that hour session, or
in that hour, or just any time?
Yeah, actually, so he was very smart, kind of a savant, and very brilliant. He spoke 6-7 different languages, had a photographic memory, is incredibly brilliant. But the biggest thing he taught me is that you have to build confidence with the people that you train and that you work with. And that's the difference between good coaches. A lot of people, like in business, they technically know what to do, or as a coach, they technically know what to do, but they don't understand the human side of things.
Yeah.
And one of the most important things is you have to build confidence, especially as a leader. Obviously, you have to set the vision and you have to have set the example. But most people have a negative bias, and they push that out. From internally, they have a negative bias, and they're always trying to fix things and see what's wrong. But what you have to do is you have to believe in people, and you have to build confidence in them that they can achieve. Because most people, like when you say they're stuck, well, they're stuck because they're stuck. It's usually a habit or a way of thinking. And all that person really needs is maybe a little guidance and then someone to believe in them. And that's, I think, like, you said you're a dad. You have 2 kids or 3?
Yeah, 2 kids, 18 and 21.
Yeah, so I have 5 kids. So mine are 12 to 2, and all the way in between.
Wow.
And I pushed my kids hard, but there's a lot of love. I give my kids big hugs every day. Every day I tell them I love them, and I joke around with them. But one of the things that I especially need to do as my kids become teenagers is I have to build confidence in them. And then when they're little, I'm always, playing with them and building confidence. And that's really important because most people don't believe in themselves.
Yeah.
And if someone else believes in you, it's a massive thing. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I love what you're talking about. I think, I think you and I are in a similar business in the sense of when I'm coaching someone, what I share with people is, I can see things and hear things that are hidden in plain sight to them, right? And I know just experiencing your group thus far, it seems like you guys do the same thing, but also creating a space for them to get into that they can't get to themselves, that they can't get into themselves, and then guiding them through that and giving them more tools to implement once they're done with whatever session that is. So, and I think when you can work in that space, it does exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, I love that. Let me ask you a question. What, of everything that you're talking about, right now with your strength coach, with building your business, what's the biggest lesson you've learned about business over the last 12 years since you started your company?
Oh man, that's that's what's the biggest lesson? I think the best lesson I've heard or learned, I would say, is to be honest, it's the growing in the virtue of humility. That you don't have it actually all figured out, and mistakes are okay to make, and like I think school is quite a horrible thing. Um, K through 12 was really bad for me. The reason why school helped me achieve in business is because I was a pretty poor student. But what I also, and I was always told that, hey, you're not very smart, or you don't get this, or whatever. But it didn't bother me when I made a mistake. And I saw a lot of my peers, they were A students, and when they got into the real world, they needed to have all the information in order to make a decision. And you can't do that. You can't run a business like that. You have to use your gut. You have to use your intuition. Intuition is such a powerful thing, and most people don't know how to access that or tap into it. You also need, to be smart and to use judgment and all, and in the information that you have available. But I would say humility, and there's been many times where I felt like I was on the top of the world, and our business was crushing it, and there was nothing that was going to stop us. And then I've had multiple times, especially in the last 2 years, where I'm like, what am I doing? I have no idea what I'm doing. I've really put us in a bad situation. I put myself in a bad situation, and now I need to figure out how to battle out of it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of humility. There's a lot of grace there. And really, I think that's been like such a wonderful thing for me is learning, those lessons. So.
Thanks for that. I couldn't agree more. How do you tap into your intuition?
Oh man, for me, like, faith is the most important thing to me. I'm a devout Catholic, so I try to go to mass every day, and so I have a 30 to 60 minutes where I'm able to pray every day, and that. People say it centers them, but I get my I get my grace from God,
Yeah.
and allowing I ask God to help me make good decisions, and Him to have whatever comes for me, to do His will, not my will, and that's taken a lot of the pressure off of me. And when I thought I was really smart, or I've gotten away from taking time to pray, that's when things start going awry in my personal life and professional life. So,
yeah, I find for myself, I meditate every day. It's the first thing I do in the morning, and that's silence. And you know what helps me a lot too? I free write journal most every day, where I close my eyes. I have a certain notebook, and I just write, and whatever kind of comes through. But it is whatever the ritual is. Think community. We talk a lot about finding your center and finding that space to tap into your gut. Right. I mean, what you're talking about, the EQ, for me too, has always, I'm dyslexic, has always saved me
Yeah.
in so many areas of my life. That's great. Okay, let's do a mini business course, David. So I did my assessment at mecastrong.com. I'm going to the Royal Oak facility. It's incredible. Weights flown in from Sweden. I mean, everything is immaculate. Its place is great. In my 3-month membership that I joined, or 25 sessions, comes a nutritionist who I'm meeting with. And then this is my information. So I weighed in last week when I did my assessment at 216. I was 208 the other day. I get kind of dialed in on my eating. To my defense, I had eaten a huge meal the night before, but whatever. Muscle mass 94.4, body fat 24.1%. Goal to get to 191 and 14% body fat. Okay, so those are my current day. Let's do a 3-part business plan on what somebody is going to expect if they come to MECA or MECA, excuse me. I think I keep on saying MECA. What are the 3 things that they're going to expect to get out of it? Number 1.
The first thing is the training in the training session is going to be absolutely phenomenal. You'll be doing exercises that you've never done before. You'll do things that you never thought you could possibly do, and you'll do them safely. So that's number 1. Number 2 is you're going to get great customer service. We really care a lot. There's a lot of personal trainers out there, but the reason why we do what we do is because we just love, the beauty of every individual and the human person. And every human person has dignity. And one of the things that's going on in our society right now is people have lost their health and their physical fitness.
Yeah.
And we are on a mission. Our company's on a mission to really bring health and physical fitness back into our country. That's why we do what we do. That's why we're trying to grow our company, is to really help more people. And when you get your physical fitness back, there's confidence that comes with that. And that's something we just talked about. And when there's confidence, there's more belief in yourself, and you just are able to give more to the world. The third thing that you'll get is you'll really start dialing in your habits. And with those habits, you'll get accountability. And those 3 things, from the training, from the customer service, and the habits and the accountability, all layered in. Those are the 3 differentiators that you're really going to get from us.
Yeah.
Things individualized to you. So you went through your assessment, you got your body fat taken, you have your own program. We handwrite all the programs. There's no just randomly showing up to the gym. Every single thing you do is tracked, and every single thing you do is progressed. And so that's something that other personal trainers just don't do.
Right.
So yeah, it's really cool.
So habits, accountability, and what was the third?
So the first thing is great training. Like the training sessions when you come in are going to be individualized and tailored to you. Right. It's great training. The second thing is you're going to get excellent customer service. And then the third thing is really the accountability with the habits that go along with that. So like you mentioned, John, that from 6 to 9 p.m., you like to probably snack a little bit, right? So that's probably when you eat most of your calories. Well, if you want to lose weight and you want to lose body fat, the number 1 habit actually that we give our clients is stop eating after 7 p.m. There's nothing good that goes in your mouth after 7 p.m.
Oh.
Like it's just a lot of empty calories, right?
Yeah.
So that's really important. And there's a reason why, basically if you don't eat, like a lot of people do intermittent fasting or in the morning, which isn't a bad thing if you don't binge at night. It could be a bad thing, but a lot of people don't eat enough food in the morning, so they're nutrient depleted And by the end of the day, their body's starving and they're producing too much cortisol, too much stress. And so insulin, they reach for sugary foods because insulin brings down cortisol in the blood. So there's like the mechanism behind that.
Yeah.
So if you want to not have those cravings, you have to eat more food earlier in the day, and they'll have to be high quality, nutrient dense food.
All right, good. Well, we're going to get into it. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to have a whole new meal plan this afternoon. Let me ask you a question, David. For somebody, we talked earlier about investment versus expense, and there are some people that just may not be able, they just can't afford, this type of service or a lot of services that they wish they could afford. What can somebody do like today at home if they just need to get started, but they're listening to this and they're saying, how do I just get started? And I can save for something like this.
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, it depends on the goal, right? But like a lot of people, they're looking to lose weight. So I have two things. I have people reach out to me all the time and they're in that situation. I say, hey, or we have like a wait list in some of our locations, right? So we can't even train them. So we're just backed up, right? So, what I'll tell them is if your goal is to lose weight and lose body fat, the number one thing to do is stop eating food after 7 p.m. So you don't eat any food after 7 p.m. And that does a couple things. One, you usually get rid of over 1,000 calories. Some people are eating 1,000 to 2,000 calories a day after 7 p.m. Okay, it's pretty wild. And then number two is like if you don't eat close to your bedtime, you're going to have better sleep. You're going to have less sleep disturbances. You're going to be able to fall asleep easier. You're going to be able to stay asleep. You're going to produce more of the hormones that you want at night, like testosterone and growth hormone. And your body's not digesting food, so your body can focus on sleeping, okay, and producing those hormones that are the hormones of youth, all right? And then when you wake up in the morning, you're going to wake up hungrier, and you're going to have more of an appetite to eat and to fuel your body for the day.
Yeah.
Okay? And then the other thing is, I tell if you can, everybody takes a 30 to 60-minute walk every day. I think that's so important. Most people in our society don't move enough. And if everybody just walked for 30 to 60 minutes every single day, it would make a massive improvement in society.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So talk to me a little bit about, your journey. You started your business 12 years ago, right? So the Reader's Digest version, the 2-minute, version, what got you to start your company? Was the entrepreneurial spirit always there? And how did it go from idea to, creating the biz?
Yeah. So in 2011, my wife and I, we were having our first child, and we wanted to move back home, be closer to family. So we moved back to the Detroit area. I'd actually never lived here before. My family had just moved back here, and so we wanted to move close to them. And basically we were just Detroit was still getting back from the 2008 recession. We still hadn't got back on its feet. There's no jobs, so I actually had to start my own business to provide for my family, and that's basically the business started out of necessity. And one client led to two clients led to four. I hired my first
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
It was started out of necessity, but you talked earlier about your faith. You talked earlier about intuition. So was it fate? Was it the universe? Was it meant to be? Was it,
Yeah, I don't really know, but I think everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
So I'm I'm just here along for the ride.
Yeah.
My hands are open to whatever life brings, good or bad, easy or difficult. Unfortunately, I think that's the only way I think we all wish things were smooth sailing all the time, but you grow through difficult things. Um, and so anyway, I couldn't, tell you. I think, yeah, God's in control and He moves you to where He wants you.
Yeah.
Um, and you can either say yes or you can say no. So saying yes is always the best thing, no matter the difficulties. But yeah, started there, and then we kind of outgrew the space that I was in, and we moved to Nova. So we started the gym in Wixom as a little, you know, 1,500 square foot training area. I think I was paying like just over $1,000 a month in rent, and and we moved to Novi, to our satellite, or our flagship location in Novi, and now we've got 3 gyms in Michigan. So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Great. Kudos to you. Kudos to you. And how many people are you training a week?
Sure. So I'm seasonal. Most of my career, I've trained, between, my first 10 years as a coach, I averaged about 50 sessions a week, just training people. I love to train people. Right now, I spend about 5 to 6 months out of the year training, and then about 6, 7 months out of the year working on the business where I'm not training people.
Yeah.
I'm coaching. I'm coaching my staff, coaching my leadership team. We have a great team, and we're trying to grow the business and improve different things. So that's kind of how I split up. Like in the summer, I'm going into about a 6 week intensive where I've got a lot of professional athletes, getting those guys ready to play, and I'll have probably around 30 sessions a week that I'll be training. So maybe a little bit more.
That's a great. How many? I love that you divide your time to working in the business, on the business, etc. How many people does your whole organization train on the weekly basis?
Oh man, we do like throughout our whole organization. Last month, just last month in May, we were doing over 1,000 personal training appointments a week.
Wow.
So yeah,
it's great.
Yeah.
Really. Oh, I love the story because I think you start out in a small little office, and then boom, you blink and it's grown into just a really substantial business. So congrats. That's great. All right, let's do a quick speed round. We talked about a couple books throughout today. A couple Dan Sullivan books, but what's a book that's had the biggest impact on you, David?
Oh my goodness. Probably, I would never thought about starting a business until I read Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah.
Back in 2000, and that was probably 2011, 2010, 2011. Yeah. The book that's made the biggest difference on me, though, and I make anybody who wants to be a leader in our company needs to read the book, The Gap in the Gain by Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan.
So good.
I've read that book 3 times.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely life-changing, especially for people who are hard-driven, or entrepreneurs, or want to be, or successful people.
Yeah.
I think that's the book that's changed my life the most, and I've given that book out to more people.
Yeah. I love The Gap in the Gain. I love that book, and I love Rich Dad Poor Dad. And I actually met the author. I met Robert. When I launched, I wrote a book and I launched it. My publishing group launched, and I went to New York, and I was walking around the book expo, and he was just sitting there by himself. So I went up, I talked to him for like 15 minutes, and then he said, "Hey, I got to run to the bathroom. I'll be right back." And I thought, well, I don't know if he's going to come back. He came back. We talked for another, I think, 10, 15 minutes. It was great because I love the book so much, like you, that I was, you always want the author, if you ever do, or anybody, to kind of represent themselves in a way that you visualize them after reading some of their stuff. So yeah, he was great. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received?
Oh my goodness. I couldn't give you one right off the top of my head.
Okay. All right. Best piece of wisdom you give somebody today.
Uh, don't be too hard on yourself. I
Yeah.
think run your own race. People are super weird right now, and I find it like my generation is getting out of it, but the younger generation, it's like, oh my goodness, like just you
Chill
don't
out.
need,
Yeah.
yeah, you don't need, like, it's super weird with social media and what you see, these random people that are the top 1% of 1% of 1% that did XYZ. That's not like really the gold standard.
Yeah.
um, I know a lot of successful people and a lot of people who are very famous on social media that are completely miserable.
Yeah.
um, that's not a good life. And like there's a lot of, like, honestly, like if you're before the age of 30, and you're happily married, um God's blessed you with the ability to buy a house, and you've got a car and you got a roof over your head, maybe you have a kid or two. I mean, there's not a better life. You can't have a better life than that. I think, honestly, if you have a roof over your head, you eat 3 meals a day, and you are able to drive a car, and you have a cell phone that can call anybody in the world at any time, you're pretty blessed.
Yeah.
And I think that's like, people do not realize that at all, and people make themselves miserable because they have these weird expectations that don't even matter in their life at all. And people should just run their own race, figure out what's important in your life. It can be anything. What's the standards that you want to live your life by? Not society standards, but what are your standards
Yeah.
that you need to do to live a good life?
Yeah.
And chase after that. Don't chase after random stuff that
Yeah.
society tells you to do.
I couldn't agree more. I think it is a couple comments on that, which is, it's interesting. I'm 52, and I have another company. I have my coaching company, but I also have another platform called Launch Three, and it's really for young adults. It's to build kind of life skills, branding, personal branding skills, and career. And it's just an incredible platform, and it's $10 a month, and we're teaching things that we believe um, they just aren't learning other places, and quick snippets, and so I'm talking to a lot of 18 to 30 year olds who are joining this program, etc. But the level of stress to know what they need to do for the rest of their lives, and it's I couldn't agree more. To get grounded and know you got to run your own race. There was an article I read in 2008, as you're talking, reminds me, in the Atlantic, and it was called "Is Google Making Us Stupid?" And what the article talked about was that technology is rewiring our brains. And this was in 2008. It's rewiring our brains from delayed gratification to instant gratification. And I think, to your point, there's all of this, like everything's got to happen overnight. I interviewed somebody on a podcast the other day, and they were saying, if I told somebody who's graduating college today that I could offer them a job for $250,000, they would say, "No way! I want to make $250 million." And just, if and one of the things Dan Sullivan talks about is, if you do something too idealistic, you can never get to your goal, because you're never moving. One of my favorite quotes, David, which has guided me through moving through different careers, is "Success without fulfillment equals failure," Tony Robbins. Because it's, to me, to your point, it's all about, if you're not fulfilled, then what are you doing it for? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of it has to, some of it has to do with that, and another piece of it is my generation grew up with like with very split families. So a lot of my friends, their parents were divorced. It's harder when or they had to. I mean, I've been in a lot of different social economic situations and environments, And a lot of my friends, they came from single family homes, right?
Yeah.
With real tough situations. Um, so like when you like if you don't have a father in the home, like that's one of the biggest predictors of learning delayed gratification.
Yeah.
Or like or a lot of kids didn't my in my generation, we just didn't get the love that we should have from our parents.
Yeah.
And so you spend 10, 15 years trying to figure out what success means instead of just being loved for who you are. And
Yeah.
so you start chasing all these weird things that society tells you because you never got that love from your parents. So, but the cool thing from that is I see so many of my friends who didn't have that support growing up. They're the best dads and moms you could ever imagine. And so like those are like really good things. Like actually, like the divorce rate in the United States is going down. There's people are staying married longer. There's a lot of really really good trends, and a lot of it comes from the pain of not having that. And I think that's where a lot of the fracturing of society went too, along with technology. But I just think it's so important to you're much more grounded when you're loved just exactly for who you are. And that was the best advantage I ever had, is I had two people who loved each other and they loved me.
Yeah.
And I didn't need to make money, or I didn't need to be a great football player, or I didn't need to accomplish external things to be validated for who I was. And I think too many people, unfortunately, right now, that they have to do that.
Yeah. I grew up the same way. My parents loved each other. I mean, not that my house was perfect, but
Yeah, no.
but unconditional love. It was pretty strong in my house.
Yeah, like you
Yeah.
look at like you can just tell when you talk to you. Then you have like when you have that, you have a lot of empathy for other people. You can coach other people. You can help guide people through that because you don't have those broken pieces yourself. I mean, we all have pains and different struggles and different pain points in our life, but that especially being loved as a child, you love your own kids with that unconditional love, and then mentor and help other people get through difficult things, which is really cool. So
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Um, Finish this sentence. Last question. One thing everybody can do to build one new/better habit today is?
one habit that everybody could do is I think exercising first thing in the morning is a complete game changer. I mean, if you want to level up your productivity by 200, 300, 400%, sweating first thing in the morning, it doesn't have to be a lot, but 20 minutes of exercise first thing in the morning, it'll change your life.
It's great. It's great. This was great, David. I appreciate your time. Think Community. Those of I'm a business coach. I work with people who are successful but stuck and get them unstuck. And what I love about this podcast is I get to have guests on who are in alignment with that mission to help people get unstuck. You talked about so many things today, David, that can get people unstuck in so many areas of their lives. And I'm grateful for your time and everything that you shared. I always enjoy when I have a guest on the show who can get real, get a little bit vulnerable, talk about pieces of their life, and while also kind of showcasing that you can have a big heart, come from a really good space, and still grow a really really successful business. And so I think it's great. I want to kind of extract a couple things that I think Community, as you're kind of walking away from this episode, to kind of just think twice about. One is the importance of habits and the importance of accountability. The more you can layer in a little bit of accountability, it goes a long way. Over Labor Day, my cousin and I were talking about eating too much candy. So since Labor Day of last year, if we eat, we check in, we text each other at the end of every day, like, thumbs up. And if we eat candy or dessert, we have to Venmo the other person $5. And so it's the act of not wanting to send the $5. And we have like free days, you know, so, oh, it's your birthday, it's a free day, or the first of every month is a free day that you can move to a different day or things of that nature. But I think it has saved me probably, you talked about, you know, calories earlier. It has probably saved me, I mean, 50,000 calories and probably $500 in candy, a minimum that I would have bought.
Oh.
Yeah. So accountability, I think, is really important. And then you kind of talked about this, but I'm just going to use a little bit of a different word, being grateful. And I think that, you know, gratitude and humility can take you a long way in business. And I think a lot of leaders that I talk to and a lot of people in business that I talk to, I think sometimes are still trying to kind of figure out how to find the gratitude. And because things are moving so fast in kind of a post-COVID world, one suggestion I want to give that's very helpful for me and people that I recommend this to is have a gratitude journal where you, whether in the beginning of the day or at the end of the day, just write down one thing that you're grateful for. It'll shift the perspective of everything that's happening, and just get you back to center and get you grounded. But I'm grateful for Kevin Schneider introducing me to your program because I'm excited. I'm excited to dive in. And I'm excited to really be extra disciplined these next 90 days. MECA Strong, MECA strong.com, elite coaching for athletes, but really anybody can go. David, tell everybody how to connect with you and learn more about you.
Oh, that's it. Just website, mecastrong.com. That's the place. Instagram too, where, you know, we have stuff on there. Same thing, mecastrong on Instagram. But yeah, thanks so much for having me on, John. I really appreciate it, and look forward to doing this again here.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Thanks, everybody. And if you want to chat about any coaching, you can reach me at johndwaskin.com. David, stay on for just a second. Thanks, everybody.